Hello, everybody. We
Howdy.
are we are cinematic suffering coming
That is
at you,
us.
not live, pre-recorded. Geez, we should do like a live stream or something, and uh, maybe talk
That
about
would be
the
cool.
same things that we usually talk about recorded.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we're both pretty good at not spitting out horrible things that would get us demonetized and canceled. So
Yeah, you're right. We're very self-aware and conscious about
yes,
that
yes,
stuff,
we are.
guys. I am Jason.
I
That
am
is
Clay.
that's Clay,
Hello.
and well, Clay, we just watched a a nice little movie that was on
Yeah, it was.
Hulu, a
Yes.
little ditty called "No One Will Save You."
No One Will Save You. It was written and directed by Brian Duffield, and also yes, written and directed. I was just about to say that, and he was also directed the 2020 dark comedy Spontaneous, and he boasts the writing credits on Love and Monsters, Underwater, and The Babysitter, which I quite enjoyed also.
Yeah.
So, say the film stars Miss Caitlin Dever as Bryn, and there's a lot of other ancillary characters, but the film focuses on her. This is definitely Bryn's movie and Bryn's story.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about Brian Duffield. So you did mention he did write and direct, I think, The Babysitter and the sequel to that.
He wrote it. He's got writing credits on that. I
Writing
don't
credits. Okay.
believe that he directed it. He did direct Spontaneous, though.
Okay, I haven't seen Spontaneous. I've seen Underwater. I've seen both Babysitter films. He also did Love and Monsters. I think he wrote on
He did.
And I really enjoyed those films. Underwater, I was a little iffy on. I'm not a big fan of Kristen Stewart, so maybe that was detracting from my enjoyment of that film.
Yeah.
But The Babysitter was really enjoyable. Love and Monsters I really liked, and I thought, No One Will Save You. I thought this was going to be kind of a one-off for our channel. Usually we pick specific movies that we know will probably be bad, and this was a little bit different this time around.
Yeah.
This just came out on Hulu, and I thought, let's give this a try, and it may be good. That we'll sit there in silence in our watch through. By the way, guys, if please check out our watch through of this. It
Yes,
it it,
absolutely.
it gets crazy. We thought we'd be silent through the whole thing because maybe it's a little more enjoyable, but we wound up talking a lot of trash on the film.
It's a lot more enjoyable when you opt into that. So to sit in a room with people doing that, you would want to kill them. But if you're doing it, if you know what you're getting into, it can be a lot of fun. We sat there and crack wise at it, and that's what we do. We're big fans of folks like the MST3K crew and the Riff Tracks folks and other folks that have been inspired by similar stuff. So why not us too? So that's
Right.
kind of the approach that we took to it.
Yeah, and I thought Brian Duffield, like I said, just from his writing credits alone, and the fact that he wrote this movie, that we would see something that would be a little bit more original and have a little more, I don't know, pizzazz to it, some twists and turns that we weren't expecting, but because they pretty much introduced the aliens right off the bat. There is no secrecy, there is no
No.
big reveal. It's like, boom, here they are for the next hour and a half. We're going to see them chasing our lead character, uh,
Bryn.
Bryn,
Yeah.
throughout the town and the house.
Yeah, and the trailer pretty much tells you the same thing. It's not a big spoiler, and you're probably going to hear spoilers through this. So just
Yeah,
spoiler warning in place. The trailer pretty much spells it out for you that this is an alien invasion story, and you barely have a chance to meet Bryn. You get the sense right off the bat that she's been alienated. She's kind of ostracized from the neighborhood. People look at her oddly, and she just generally feels unwelcome, and people are hostile in the town
right.
towards her. And it's right from that into the aliens are smashing in my front door and trying to harass me.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it starts off in. I'm not going to just total bag on this movie. There are things I really liked about it. I enjoyed this weird kind of old school atmosphere of Bryn's home, that
Yeah.
we get a sense that this is a home that's not modern. And that's why I thought it took place maybe it's like a period piece that's taking place in 1974,
Yeah.
or the early 80s, or maybe even later, earlier than that. because there was an old school style of the wardrobe and rotary phones
Yeah.
and it it turns out to be a modern thing because we later see Bryn visiting her mother in the graveyard and we see that she died in 2019. So
And I would have liked it a little bit more if they had just left that one little thing out. And if they had kind of just let us think, because if you had taken that out, there's nothing in there that would have kind of given it away that it's a contemporary movie
right.
or placed in a contemporary time frame.
No, you're right. Yeah, it would have worked. It would have worked perfectly, even better. Like than placing it into modern times here. That yeah, I think it would have worked even more, been more effective back then if they had placed it. But uh, yeah, so we start off with Bryn, and we start seeing unusual behavior from the neighbors because we don't know exactly what happened. We don't find out what exactly happens until the very end.
Yeah.
And so even the USPS guy is kicking her package and pushing it down the road, and he's like, "Woo, fuck your package!" And
Yeah, like here's your commemorative Dolly Parton plates that have been just
you just
smashed
hear.
to pieces.
I keep thinking of Ace Ventura at the very opening scene where he's bringing that package in.
Yeah, like the guy's kicking it like it's comic, like it's weird. It has trouble kind of finding its tone in a way because it almost feels kind of lighthearted and dark comedy, but then it doesn't really let the audience know how you're supposed to feel about it, which
Yeah.
I'm sure Brian Duffield would say, well, that was intentional, that was my intention, but I don't know if it really works all that well.
Yeah, and I did want to know what happened. We kind of we For one thing, we have to say that there is no dialogue in this movie at all. The lead character Bryn, she says nothing. No other characters say anything. So this is pretty much a silent movie almost. I mean, there's noises and everything, explosions, but
Screams and gasps and stuff. But yeah,
yeah,
it's very odd because that was obviously a very intentional, creative choice that he made.
yeah.
But why is she so silent? Maybe I talk to myself too much. But if I'm in any situation, if you leave me alone in the house and you bug the house, you're going to hear words coming out of me.
Right. Yeah. No one just walks around not saying, I mean, you stub your toe or you say, or you're cursing, something bad happened, or, you're always saying something. I guess I did appreciate the fact that we don't hear her saying, okay, Bryn, what are we going to do next? And she's, talking herself through what she's going to do, and I did appreciate that because that is a little hokey in movies like this where they try to use that gimmick of not using any dialogue. So,
Yeah.
and this is one of those things where if you're not paying attention really to the movie, because they give a lot of clues throughout the movie. The movie is packed with things that if you miss it while you're watching, if you look off to the side or look off your phone or whatever, that you're gonna miss certain clues of what her life is like and what's kind of been happening. We don't, like I said, we don't get the big reveal of what happened until the very end, but it does
Yeah.
kind of give you clues as to what's happening in this character's life.
Yeah, it's very thought out, and one thing I'll say about it is that you could one of the I'm sure a lot of horror fans agree with this is one of the biggest sins that a horror movie can make is that if it's boring. We understand that a lot of movies need a time to build up and time to kind of simmer and build tension, but this one's almost the opposite sin to where they just throw like immediately there's
Yeah.
jittery aliens that are smashing the door in and they just it's harassing this poor girl.
Yeah, like 10 minutes into the movie, we're already thrust into this. And I'm not complaining about that at all, but you remember
No.
I don't know if you remember about 30 minutes in though, all this shit is happening to her and I'm already exhausted pretty much by this
Yeah.
point. I'm like, "What? We've got an hour more. What the fuck are they going to do?"
You're gonna throw her from one side of the house to the other,
And that's pretty much what happened. Just being chased, thrown, gagged, the alien creatures shoved down her throat, odd dream sequences, and I'm not going to really complain about that because it was really cool that they did pretty much come right off and just they got the action. It's not a slow burn movie at all. It's
No.
just pure adrenaline throughout the thing. So I again, I appreciated that, but I will say, like I said, that 30 minutes in, I was just kind of exhausted going, I don't know what else this girl's going to be able to fucking endure.
Yeah, I would have liked it a little bit more if there had been kind of a the tension, the calm before the storm, like the Tom. We compared it to the Tom Cruise War of the Worlds movie, and I'm sure people have their problems with that movie. And I rewatched it not too many years back, and there's a couple. There's some scenes that are accidental comedy
Yeah.
now, but like running 5 feet ahead of the giant explosions
Yeah.
that he manages to avoid, but. One thing I really liked about that movie, well, Steven Spielberg, I mean, say no more about that, but they did a great job of like, showing this guy's life and showing the interaction with his family and showing how the town felt before all hell breaks loose. And there was
Right.
that nice little contrast that with this, it's like you get just a moment of reflection and then bam.
Yeah, you're the only things you kind of see are Bryn writing a letter to this person named Maud, and if you don't read what she's writing, if you miss that part, you can see where she says, I'll never forgive myself for what I've done, and
Okay.
so obviously I'm thinking she's done something really horrible, and we find out later that this Maud is her best friend, and that they were 12 years old when this incident happened. Whatever happened, it happened at 12 years old, and we learn that Maud is dead, because we do see her grave. Another grave reveal of dates, so we know how old she was and when she died, from 2000 to 2012. So
Yeah, and it's one of these things that it's really kind of odd that everybody in the town hated this girl over this
yeah,
accidental death, and because I mean, for one thing, 12 years old, and it just that part was kind of took me out of it a little bit. It's like that's why everybody hates your guts so bad in the whole town. I mean, it's a
yeah,
little bit tough but I mean, amongst the movie where everything is just kind of tough to.
yeah. No, you bring up a good point that the entire town does not like her. They're holding a grudge against something she did when she was 12 years old.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, what kind of town holds grudges like that on a 12-year-old girl? And then I was thinking, what the hell happened? And that's where the reveal at the end, you find out what does happen. We'll talk about that later, but
Yeah.
it you know, just having a parent spit in your face. That was a
Yeah, just
scene where a parent spit in our hero's face, and you're like, okay, what is going on? Why do people hate her so much? And I don't think it kind of equaled up to what was going
no,
on.
I didn't buy the reasoning behind it that much. It was kind of odd. Just thought of something and it escaped me. It'll come back to me. It'll come back.
Yeah, I mean, we were comparing this film pretty much the entire way through. Like, oh, this reminds me of Slither, not
Yeah, slugs. We brought up slugs.
Slugs, Night of the Creeps, Signs, obviously, Home Alone, even.
Yeah. Oh, I thought I just remembered what I was going to say. Like it would have made more sense to me if instead of just outright contempt, she was just kind of misunderstood, and if she was maybe neurodivergent or something, which would kind of explain
Yeah,
why she doesn't speak that much. That we
yeah,
kind of come up with a reason for why she, you never hear a peep out of the girl. Like,
right,
but I think I would have related to that one more if maybe she was autistic or something, or
right, yeah,
just different in some kind of way. Probably would have helped us connect with the character because even though she was in this in peril for the whole movie, and you're supposed to empathize with her about that, they didn't give you a whole lot to kind of connect with her as a character of Bryn.
yeah. I'm not sure the sympathy or the empathy that I was supposed to feel for her wasn't really coming through, just because we didn't really know a lot about her from the outset, and other than the few reveals we see. Um, I guess we can show some empathy for a person who's getting assaulted by aliens. We wouldn't want to be in that situation for sure.
No, they're just what was making me laugh as we were watching it is like they seem like they're dangerous. I don't want to kind of kind of undermine the fact that they were dangerous and a threat, but they seem more obnoxious and just just next level rude more than anything. It's like knock, just coming
Yeah.
into my house
Well,
and
that yeah. Well, I mean, they were inconsistent, right?
yeah,
We obviously see different kinds of aliens, and they're all kind of that the gray alien that we're used to seeing from movies and from Area 51 stuff. That the typical grays, but they're all different kind of sorts of grays. You got the gray who has the humongous long arms and legs, who seems like the big monster of them all. You got the small little gray who has like the sharp
yeah.
claws. And then you got the regular grays. You look like the more intelligent grays, maybe that have the more psychic things that happen that they can perform.
It almost
And
makes me wonder if they just went to some video game company and said, "Hey, can we have whatever models that you made for your video game? Because if you if you're going to do a first person shooter, you can't be shooting just one kind of alien. They have to
right,
have
right.
different guns." So they probably and I've heard this film was relatively low budget, which is kind of surprising because it looked fantastic. It's
Yeah.
a really nice looking movie. But I I joke, but I kind of wonder if they did that. If somebody said, we've got some stock
Yeah.
aliens that we can give you the models for, so you don't have to build them from scratch.
Shit, man, you might have a point there because if anything, the CGI aliens were the weakest point of this movie, and
Yeah, they weren't. They were all kind of forgettable. They didn't seem very, even though they were threatening. I wasn't really like. I wasn't. I didn't feel anything when I saw them.
yeah, and not for such a low budget movie. Usually, these low budget movies tend to not show the creatures right off the hand. It's like it's
Yeah,
always like the corner of the eye. The hero sees them, but we don't see them, and it's that build up. And you remember Signs, like
yeah,
when you finally see the alien in Signs, it's a shocking moment, but
yeah,
it's only about an hour into the movie that you finally see it on that videotape that they're watching.
yeah,
So, and that was a high budget movie that at the time.
yeah.
So this is just it was just a weird decision just to, hey, let's just show them the aliens and
Well lit and everything. You get to see you get to see every one of their weird little finger toes that they walk around on.
I thought their tactics were odd. There's moments where they're just tearing doors down, ripping the place apart, chasing her, and then there's other times when they're like opening a doorknob and walking in. I'm like, well, what changed? Can't you just blow the fucking thing off its hinges and rip up the bed because you know where she is?
Well, and shout out to Mr. H. I just watched one of his videos where he explains the ending, and which was helpful to me because it was like, yes, somebody please explain to me what you got out of the ending or how you interpreted it. And his spin on it or his take on it was that the whole movie was basically, Bren is alienated and
No pun intended.
yeah, no pun intended, ostracized from the town, and the aliens grew to empathize and understand her, especially after they made her swallow a brain control bug that she then later coughed up. I
Yeah.
think that was the turning point where they were like, oh, you're we get it. Like no one understands us either. And it's like, well, yeah, you're rude. You smash into people's houses.
You invade planets.
Yeah, you force feed them mind control bugs. You guys are just supremely obnoxious.
Yeah, I was watching. I don't know if you've heard of Amanda the Jedi, but she had a pretty good take on it herself.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
okay, well, let's jump to the end real quick.
Okay.
So we get the big reveal, and again, this is spoilers, guys. If you don't want to hear it, just turn it off and go watch the movie and
Spoiler.
come back. So the spoiler of what happened was that her and her best friend had some kind of argument. We don't know what the argument was about. And her best friend pushes, this is when they're 12 years old, by the way. Her best friend pushes her down. And Bryn is so angry and upset at her friend that she grabs a rock and just swings without even thinking and slams her best friend in the head with a rock and kills her pretty much. And it's an accidental death. It wasn't meant, but she did it out of anger. And now the whole town hates her, years later, even after the incident, that, and then somehow the aliens are that this is where it fell really, really flat for me, because
Yeah.
I was trying to understand why the aliens spared her, why they singled her out, because the rest of the town, and we assume the rest of the world, is taken over by these alien brain things that have turned everyone into happy zombies, where they're
Yeah.
waving and
Compliant. And, yeah.
yeah. So it's like no one else in the world, the entire world, has suffered something even more grave or horrible that they only spare her? Is she the only one that accidentally killed someone? I mean, I've accidentally killed plenty of people
Just today. I mean,
just today. I mean, it's manslaughter, but whatever.
but it's accidental. I mean, the point is that my neighbors still like make eye contact and wave when I'm taking them. Yeah, but so, and basically she's Bryn is happier because everybody in the town is no longer judgmental and they accept her now, which is uh, okay. It's an interesting idea and
Yeah.
it's different, but it's a lot to ask of the audience. It's very, and it's like, okay, so I'm glad that you're happy, but the rest of the world is now a bunch of brain dead zombies.
Zombies, right? Yeah, it's a weird take, and I just thought the ending was weak, because I think at the end when we watched through it, we're both wondering, well, is she infected? Does she have the brain thing? But I don't think she did. I think
No,
the aliens spared her, and that's what I was just racking my brain. Why? So the ending didn't work for me. I think with a lot of these films that we watch, I don't understand why endings are just so hard to nail for a lot of these things.
they're hard to land. I mean, it's one thing I will give this one is, and this the ending, from what I understand, is very not very. I don't want to say very, but it's pretty controversial in the fact that opinions are split. It's not controversial as in I'm offended. It's just people are very split on if they like it or don't like it.
Right.
I'm I'm a little bit conflicted about it, honestly. Like, I think it's an interesting take. I think that it was pretty creatively ambitious that they went that direction with
Yeah.
it. And I think it's neat that we end up saying this a lot. I think it's one thing I love about horror is that they kind of just let the creative people do what they want and they don't tinker with it and screw with the movie that much, because
Right.
there's like in the context of Hollywood big budget movies, these things don't cost that much, so they're just like, just whatever. If it doesn't make money, we don't have that much to lose, and if it
Yeah.
does, great, because we didn't put that much into it. So they just leave the creative team alone, which you don't see that in
Yeah.
these big tentpole movies at all. You have so much studio interference and they meddle with it and test it with audiences and tweak things and reshoot it to the point to where it's just pointless to even see it. It's just bland because it's trying to appeal to too wide of a
Yeah.
audience.
No, I know I kind of began this review where saying it was a dud, but it's not a complete dud. It's not there are things I did really thoroughly enjoy about it. I did like the kind of the gimmick of no one talking. I think we caught on to that at probably around 15 minutes in. We're like, okay,
Yeah.
I think this is where they're going. And then we're wondering, is anyone else going to talk? But nope, no one else in the movie talked. So I thought that was a kind of a cool gimmick. It was shot very well. I have to give props to Caitlin Dever, because she was amazing in this. She carried it, and she did very well. I she the only thing I recognize her from is from Hulu's series called Dope Sick with Michael
Oh,
Keaton,
okay.
and she played an addict in that show, and she was amazing in it. So it was
She,
cool to see her switch it up a little bit.
she's definitely a good actor. I kind of wonder if this movie was inspired at all by All Is Lost, starring Robert Redford. It's in a ways kind of a similar movie. It's not doesn't involve aliens, but it's Robert Redford alone on a sailboat that's sinking and having problems, and it's almost as wordless. He mutters to himself, and he's just
Right.
like, but it's mostly just watching him try to deal with this situation. So I kind of
Yeah.
wonder if that they drew inspiration from that.
Yeah, it's a good question. I need to see that. It sounds pretty cool.
It's a good
Actually.
movie.
Yeah. So yeah, I think overall it's an enjoyable movie. It's not without its flaws. I mean, the CGI, the inconsistency of the alien attacks
Yeah.
that, you know, are a little off-putting, and then the ending is just, you know, I didn't feel the ending. I think it was cool. I think it was a cool idea, but I just don't think it worked after everything that happened. You know,
I think they could have set it up a little bit better,
yeah,
but you know, like if you've already got a Hulu subscription or if you're sharing your password with your family or something, it's definitely worth your time to watch. I think
yeah,
it's
yeah.
definitely.
It's one of those things where you can say you're not going to be bored watching this movie.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So that is about it for our review of No One Will Save You. Thank you all for joining us, and if you've made it
Yes.
this far, make
Click that
sure,
like button.
make sure you click the like button, leave a comment below, and subscribe to the channel. I still
And
haven't come up. We still
yeah,
haven't come
tell
up
us
with.
what you want us to review next, and we'll take you up on that.
Absolutely. And if you're listening on to any of your favorite podcasting locations, whether it's Spotify, Apple, Amazon, please leave us a 5-star review if you would be so kind. And I guess that's about it. We don't have an outro yet, so let's come up with a random outro on how we're going to end this episode.
Watch bad movies even if they're good. No, that one's terrible.
Let's see. How about? Oh no, that's not going to work. That's horrible. See, I can't even get it. How about that? Watch bad movies even if they're not good.
More bad or goodies or movie goodies.
There you go. More bad or goodies or even movie goodies. Okay, well, that'll stick. That'll definitely stick.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you so much. I'm Jason.
I'm Clay.
And have a good weekend or week or wherever you're at.
Whenever you watch this, get out of my face. Go.
Yeah, bye.
Peace.